Hi, this is Dennis at Second Chance Tackle, and boy, the garage sales and flea markets are really hitting full stride into fall now. It just turned fall, and I thought I would preview for you something I found again. And these will make for good winter projects if I don't get around to them near term. But sometimes it's just kind of hard saying no when you find a buy out there, regardless of whether you've had a hand in it or not, and if you really need it or whatever. But these are rainy day projects, and I will get to these over time. I will promise to do some of these just because they're intriguing, but others it'll just kind of be when I get a chance to fill in the rest. So let's take a look at the first few. Everything I got here was under $100 total. So I start with 2 pen reels, and this started the conversation. I have I believe it's a 710. It works, but it's missing the handle, and you can usually find them on eBay. I may even have one laying around, I'm not quite sure, but otherwise the reel turns fine. And somebody was asking me, I guess just today, they said that their bail that they have is riding very low, and the only time that becomes a problem is when you are on the top stroke of a handle, which you don't have here. The handle will hit that, and sometimes it's a matter that this nut is not tight enough to pull it up, and sometimes it's just a matter that this got banged somewhere along the line, maybe putting it into an automobile, hitting it on a pier wall or whatever. And they asked me if it could be rebent, and the answer is yes. With some gentle pressure, you would open up your bail to the full, and then with some gentle pressure, in this case just pull down, and eventually that will correct it. And if you really want to be safe about it, hold it on this juncture here. You don't want to tear it off, but it's just a wire and it can be bent. And in this case, probably do that one a little bit later because that is definitely riding low. The second one I found, I love this reel. This is a 650 SS. It's one of those old bulletproof pens. This one is turning very sluggishly. That kind of started the conversation, but I got a 650 that I will work on in time. And the 650 essentially came third generation, I believe it was. It's a generation after these, and it's a nice reel. So, and then I bought a whole host of them. I think I paid $30 for a bunch of reels and rods that were kind of called parts lots. So the first one up here is it's a South Bend. It's a South Bend Eclipse on a South Bend Eclipse rod. So it's a rod and reel combination. It actually works, and this one was included in a bunch of things that don't work. So I'll clean this one up. I'll find the kid somewhere that's going to enjoy doing that. So South Bend is on the lower end of the rod and reel line. You can tell right here, just material-wise, that's a steel screw. It's got rust on it. You can see whatever the coating is on the bail here. It's all greened, which means it's corroded. Another rusted screw on this side. So they're kind of viewed generally as an entry-level rod and reel, but you know what, this looks like a nice rod, and the reel turns, so this one's going to get a second chance somewhere. There's no question about that. Next up then, I got a half of a rod, and I don't know where the fellow got these, but no top on this rod. Same idea, it's got an Eclipse reel that's running on it, and the rod's no good, but the reel, you know, I think I'm averaging, when I look at this, I averaged about $5 a reel. I got the whole lot for 30 bucks, so I did okay there. Next one up is a beautiful Daiwa rod, and this one is a Daiwa shock. So the shock rods and reels are on the lower end of the spectrum. This one's missing a spool and the drag adjuster knob, as well as the little click ratchet and the washer that would go on top of that. This reel's not worth repairing, and it's got a bent handle as well. I'm just feeling it as I crank it, but it'll serve for parts. But the rod is what caught my eye there, so we'll do fine with that. And that's a 2-piece rod, so that's good. Next one up is kind of the other thing that caught my mind. I got an ugly stick, and I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to show this one. It's kind of the way that it works, but I have a Shakespeare ugly stick here, and yeah, you can just about see it. There you go. It's an ugly stick. It's a 6.5 foot rod, I believe. 6-foot rod, and it's a medium action. So this one, for including it in a bunch that costs $30 when the rod itself would cost $30, is probably all I needed to do to sell me on the rest of the stuff. Then I got a combination. It's the old Tiger combination. Looks like it's hardly been used. The anti-theft tag, or the anti-detach tag, is still on here. The rod looks virtually new. However, typical of something. Somebody probably put it in the trunk, knocked off the tip, and that kind of caused that to be a lousy combination. And then this one is stuck. So what we were saying again about entry-level reels, here's this Shakespeare Tiger, hardly ever used, doesn't turn, and here we have rusted screws, again steel screws, not stainless, but otherwise it looks great, right? I guess it's a fashion industry out there. I heard a term the other day which was kind of interesting. They said a lot of the reel and reel manufacturers, it's not a fashion industry, it's a passion industry. So if you get somebody who likes a pen reel, they're going to get passionate about it, and they're going to buy pen reels all the time. I guess if you were in computers, you'd say, if you were an Apple fanatic or a Windows fanatic or whatever you were, once you get locked into them, you kind of stay with them. Well, it's the same thing there. Here's a half of a Daiwa rod. Same idea. So I think this fellow probably was working with some kind of a distributor, part slot, returns kind of thing, and was getting back the stuff that was broken. So this one doesn't have a tag on it. It's missing the top. And where the top could have gone, I have no idea. But it's missing the top of the rod. It's probably another one of these reels that we just did. I believe it's probably going to be a Daiwa shock reel. We did one of those the other day, and what we found was, there's no name on here. So this could get branded as just about anything. And when we took the rotor off, interestingly enough, it had what was set up for a anti-reverse override that was very different from the one that's installed on here. So again, that's probably just going to wind up in a parts basket. Maybe I can use the handle or something. The rod itself is unfortunate that you're missing the top end of that, but none of this has any reason to try and be rebuilt at this point. But again, it was part of the lot, so why not? And then the last one is an older combination. In this case, I've got it on a Shakespeare rod, and this one is a Ryobi, and it's the SX model. Let's see if we can see it on this side. It's the SX4. It's a pretty robust entry-level reel, and it was made in Japan, and it was made probably in the late 70s or early 80s. Shares a lot of the looks and feels of the day, whether it was an Olympic reel or if it was a Daiwa reel, Pen Silver Series. They all kind of look the same. Still works. It's hard to see because you got all this line tangled up, but that's kind of a clue in terms of what you do when you go to a flea market. Initially, this fellow was looking for $10 a piece for the rods and reels, and of course you point out right away this one's not working. You can see that the bail's there, the rotor's wobbly. That's nothing more than just tightening up the nut on there. But in your negotiations, rusted screws, wobbly bail, it's got to get repaired. In this case, you have a conversation about the missing handle and all the price it's going to cost you. And this one, there's no need arguing or haggling about this. There's nothing you can do with this one. It's missing the top end of the assembly, and it's only half of a rod, so why are you even selling that kind of a thing? And again, so condition is everything, and don't be afraid when somebody says, oh, I want $10 a piece, and you can't find $10 of value in one particular item. Go for the whole lot. That's kind of what I just did with this group. If he got what he was asking for, it probably would have been $60 or $70. And I said, look, almost every one of these requires some kind of action, repair missing parts. In this case with the rod, it requires the missing tip. And I made him a bid for $30, which I saw as the value of that Shakespeare ugly stick, and he accepted. So don't be afraid to just try and bundle something if you might not be able to get the value out of a particular purchase like this one, bundle the two. And that's what I did with this particular deal. I bundled the two of these. I said, well, look, this one needs work. It's slow. It's kind of hard working. You can tell how old it is by the line on it. You know, those typical kinds of things. And I said, this one's parts. You can't get a handle for it. Whether you can or not, I don't know. But at any rate, I said, you know, the price that he was asking for this one was reasonable. And I said, look, if you put the two of them together, I'll pay that price. And I was able to get that for you. And we'll do this one for sure. We'll do the Ryobi as a video. And then the other ones, I've kind of been going from time to time, why do reels fail? And so maybe I'll do a video on why that tiger doesn't turn, or why this thing is all loose and everything. And maybe we'll make an education session out of that. So again, it's the season for flea markets and garage sales and the like, so take advantage of it. If you don't have them open in your area due to the pandemic, then look on eBay and Facebook Marketplace. There's a lot of folks out there that are trying to get rid of stuff who would normally sell at a marketplace and don't have one to sell at, and yet they're looking for the extra income streams and that, so they're going online. And you can still get some flea market prices by going through them as well. So you just have to be aware of what it is that you're doing, and that seems to be the operative word these days with the pandemic. So if you're a first-line responder, or if you're involved as an essential worker, if you're trying to keep us safe and healthy and make sure that everything that we need to continue to get through this struggle is there for us, well then thank you very much. Your efforts truly are appreciated, and if you're spending the time watching these videos as kind of a relief from all of the craziness that this pandemic has brought upon us, then I thank you for spending your time with us as well. If you like to see this kind of stuff, please subscribe. If you have any questions about any of these reels or reels in general, please leave them in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please like it. And finally, if you have a reel that needs to be repaired, well, please contact me by way of the business card that follows. Use the email. That's the best way for me to respond. And I'll be happy to provide you with repair information. So this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Have a great day.